Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. The now flat line of our Cincinnati Bengals, because that is where we are. That is where our defense is. Maan, man, oh man, it looks like we've seen this before, right? Especially the last three games. Let's get your initial thoughts right away, Mon, on this. We want to thank everybody real quick for jumping in. We know that this is another rough one, but we appreciate you guys being here. We're going to get through this together. Let us know how you feel in the comments section, because I promise Mon and I are going to let you know how we feel. Mon, initial thoughts on this game. What do you think?
I hate losing to the Steelers. It sucks. I'm frustrated, man. This whole season has been a crap show. Pittsburgh had over 300 yards total offense in the first half. I know they have a good record, but it wasn't their offense that was doing it. It was their defense. This defense is historically bad. And what irritates me and just absolutely drives me crazy is I don't want to hear anybody say the Bengals are a good drafting team. The Bengals hit the home run with Chase and Burrow. They sprinkled in a few other pieces. They're not a good drafting team. They got 6 people in their player personnel department. That should be they should be embarrassed by it. And if you look at the team that just beat us, I think there's 7 to 9 players drafted in the last 2 years that are starting or playing significant snaps. The strip sack, Nick Herbig, second-year player, Peyton Wilson, rookie from this year. Coffin Nails, all right, Keanu Benton. I can just go on and on. They have 2 rookies starting on the offensive line, a second-year player starting on the offensive line. So they got 3 guys out of 5 starting that were drafted in the last 2 years. Joey Porter, I know, was one of our best players today of all the penalties. He starts for them. They have a lot of contributors from their rookie class that are making a difference. What do we have? We have a team. Sorry to ramble. We trot out Hubbard, who has seen his better days. His leg injuries have caught up to him. Pratt looks stiff. He looks washed. I'm sorry. All right. Geno Stone, we're playing with 10 people on defense with him out there. Sheldon Rankins, sick today, didn't play. He's been a non-contributor. Kappa has been a non-contributor. We're playing 5 guys that are basically doing nothing for us. There's 22 players that start in the NFL, 11 on defense, 11 on offense. 5 of them are giving us nothing. That's why we're 4-8. And, you know, this organization has to self-reflect. This coaching staff has to self-reflect. The people that put these players out there, I don't care what their salary is. I don't care what they make. The backups can't be any worse. Play a rookie. Play Dejon Anthony. Play somebody else. Get Shaka Hayward off the practice squad. Have him play some snaps at somewhere. I mean, it's just, man, it's organizational malpractice, and it's unacceptable. And, you know, there's going to be people on Twitter, oh, hey, man, I love the team. Zac Taylor's the best, blah, blah, blah. Guys, we're 4 and whatever, 8. Mm-hmm. We're not going to the playoffs. Start mock drafting. We're done. We're cooked. We should be embarrassed.
Well, that's a lot. I'm gonna start from the beginning of it. Mon, first of all, about the drafting thing, I read somewhere the Bengals have used. Listen to this: the Bengals have used 9 of their last 10 top 100 draft picks on the defensive side. Mon, 9 out of the last 10 top 100 picks on the defensive side. Lou needs to be fired. Duke Tobin needs to be fired. As a matter of fact, Mon, this whole entire organization needs to be fired. It needs to be a complete cleaning house to come out, Mon, off of a bye week and have your worst defensive performance of the year against one of the worst offensive teams that you are playing all year is an absolute embarrassment. To give up, and again, I'm going to go off of what you said as well. The Steelers defense it's great. It's a great defense. There's no doubt about that. That just shows you how good the Bengals offense is. This Pittsburgh Steelers offense is borderline awful. And what did the Bengals do today? They give up more yards against the Steelers than the Steelers have gotten since 2018, man. 6 years it's been since the Steelers have come close to getting 500 yards of total offense. They give up the most yards passing. The second most yards passing to Russell Wilson in his entire career. This Lou Anarumo should be fired as soon as the game ends. I don't want to hear from Zac Taylor at the podium. We're still in it. I still believe in this team, blah, 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 blah. You had a bye week to prepare for this team at home, and you absolutely embarrass yourselves in front of a home crowd. This team, it's almost hard to even imagine what we are going through as Bengal fans, isn't it? Like, it's almost imaginable to believe that this Bengals offense is as good as it is. And I know, people are going to be blaming Burrow for this because he threw a pick, which was tipped twice. There was a strip sack, which was Orlando Brown Jr.'s fault 100%. There was no blocking on that play. But somehow Burrow's going to get blamed for this. Burrow, again, is the best quarterback in the NFL. He just lit up one of the best defenses in the NFL. And once again, this team is going to lose a football game, man. They are now, listen to this, they are 0-4. 0-4 now. In 4 games that they have scored 30 or more points, they have lost 4 of those games. 30 or more points in 4 games, and they have lost, Mon. 3 of those games are against division opponents, Mon. 3 of those games are against the so-called best defenses in the NFL, against the Ravens and the Steelers. The Bengals score 30-plus, and they lose. They are 0-4 in 30 or more points scored in a game. Mon, they have lost 6 games scoring 25 or more points. 6 games the Bengals have lost this year scoring 25 or more points. They are 1-7 in one-score games, Mom. 1-7 in one-score games. That is coaching. And the last 3 games, Mom, the Bengals have scored 34 points and lost, 27 points and lost, and 44 points and lost. And 38 points and lost. And 2 of those games was on the road. This whole coaching staff needs to be fired. I don't want to hear any more of the goody-goody. We love this staff, and this staff is blah, blah, blah. Mon, it's got to be an entire house cleaning. The coaching staff has let down this team. They have let down the city, along with the organization as well. Duke Tobin needs to go. He might be one of the worst talent evaluators that we have ever seen. You said it, first of all, Mom. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they were home run picks. They were easy picks, right? This Duke Tobin and his 6 scouts have done absolutely nothing to build a roster off of the best quarterback in the NFL, Mon.
Yeah, it's I'm just thinking about the last few weeks interacting on social media with a lot of Bengal fans. Zac Taylor homers coming on. It's hard to criticize his offense. He's there. He's the offensive coordinator. He's a play caller. Him and Dan Pitcher. We've scored a lot of points. Hey, it's really hard to blame him for it. It's the defense's fault. It is the defense's fault. I'm going to say that. I mean, I'm not here giving anybody a free pass. It's the defense. That's the Achilles heel of the Cincinnati Bengals. But the identity on offense needs to change. Joe Burrow sacked 4 times today, hit multiple other times. When you have to throw the ball as much as the Bengals do, guys, it's not sustainable. Joe Burrow isn't Herbert. He's not 6'5", 245 pounds. It's not sustainable. His body will not hold up. We have got to do something to diversify this offense. Yes, we're scoring a lot of points. Amazing. I love it. That's great. But they have to do something. They ran the ball pretty well today in the first half. But guys, I'm just sick and tired. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. Hey, man, run the ball and get the first down. Your quarterback is dropping back. The Steelers know it. The Steelers are one step ahead of us on a lot of plays. And guess what? He gets pummeled. He gets hit and completion. It's a turnover on downs. And it's just, man, it's just mind-boggling. And again, sound like a broken record. This team cannot draft and develop. And the times that they do draft and develop, they let them go. Guys, number 22 on defense is not getting it done. Why do you trot him out? Why do you continually put him out there and play? Nick Scott last year was a better safety than what we have this year. And we know how that turned out. True. We've used 3 draft picks, 4 really, to replace one guy that's playing for another team. And we have signed 2 free agents to replace him. That's not a winning organization, guys. It's not a winning organization. The highest rated guard by PFF last week, you know who that was? Kevin Zeitler for the Lions. He used to play for us.
Yep.
And when he left and he almost came back here. He signed with the Ravens, but we lowballed him. He ended up taking the Ravens deal. We're not serious, guys. We're not serious. I love this team. I'm going to have the podcast. You love this team. I'm going to watch every Bengal game remainder of the season. I'm going to talk Bengals every day until the draft. Man, enough is enough. I mean, we need to have accountability.
Hey, let's throw our super chat up real quick, Mon, if you can. Josh and Kim, thank you so much. Man, that is so appreciative. Man, I can't even tell you. We appreciate that so much, Josh and Kim. Thank you guys for that. Let's talk a little bit about this, and we appreciate you guys. Let's talk about Duke because, again, Mon, I don't think Duke Tobin gets enough blame. It's like this guy, he kind of like sneaks under the radar because Zac Taylor is the only one that gets up and speaks at all during the season. And Duke Tobin, he just kind of gets away with it. It's insane. How is Duke Tobin still working for this organization when, again, time in and time out, Mon, we have not developed players. We had this incredible roster in 22, I will say, because 21, the offensive line was not good. In 22, this roster was the best roster in football in 2022. That was 2 years ago, Mon. We know what happened after 2022. We know who they let walk since then. We know how they've had to replace players since then or how they tried. They have absolutely run this team into the ground in 2 years because Duke Tobin and his scouting department is not worth a penny. They are maybe the worst in the NFL. Again, I just gave you that stat, Mon. 9 out of the last 10 top 100 picks were on defense. How many of those guys are actually making a difference in a football game for us, Mon? Josh and Kim, once again, thank you so much, and thank you for your comment. What do you think, Mon, about Duke? Talk about Duke here for a minute.
I think Duke needs to be held accountable. Guys, I just said it a few minutes ago. He hit the home run with Burrow and Chase. I used this analogy last week, and if I already talked about it on the show, I'm sorry. I'm a big college football fan. I'm sure a lot of our fans are. We got 500 people right now watching live. I just want to ask you a question. If your favorite college program, Florida, UCF, you name it, Stanford, if they go 1 year without recruiting any players, getting anybody in the portal, what's going to happen to that team 2 or 3 years down the road? They're going to crumble. Take the 2021 draft. Chase. The rest are whiffs. Well, McPherson, okay? 10 picks, 2 of them bookends, okay? Everybody in between, nothing. We're getting nothing out of that draft. What's happening now? It's killing us. We drafted 7 trench players in that draft. 7. 0. Nothing out of them. That's unacceptable. You cannot go one full draft and have that you can't have catastrophic drafts like that. The Cincinnati Bengals depend on drafting and developing so much because they're not really big on free agency. They have been the last 5 years, but if you look at the organization 56 years, they haven't been. They depend so much on the draft, and they can't have bad drafts. So why do you have 6 people in your player personnel department? When you have to be basically perfect in the draft, you have 6 people in the player personnel department. How is that acceptable? That's comical. That's sort of embarrassing. I think CFL teams in Canada probably have more people in their player personnel department. Man, I know that's emotional, but I'm exhausted, man. I'm exhausted by the season.
I am too.
You know, it is. I mean, I swear, I think I've aged. I haven't really cussed on the show, but I want to have a barrage of bad words right now. It's driving me crazy.
You definitely have aged, Mom. I love you, but let's throw up.
We got another super chat. We got another super chat.
Let's throw up Bruce B's there. Bruce B, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for another super chat from Bruce B. Yeah, man. I'm with you, dude. How do you have the best quarterback in the NFL, and you still run out an offensive line that is just it's below average? I mean, how bad of a look is it, Mon, that Cordell Volson gets benched today for Cody Ford, a guy that's been playing tackle, and they bench their starting guard, who they drafted, by the way, who, Mon, is the only offensive lineman starting for this team this year that the Bengals actually drafted. He gets benched for Cody Ford, a guy that's played on 12 different NFL teams and isn't even known for playing guard. How bad is that? That is a terrible look, isn't it?
It is. It's a horrible look. I tweeted something earlier, and I know it seems harsh. This team is soft. They are soft in the trenches.
This defense
it's just I can't believe what I'm watching sometimes. I mean, Steeler players are running through holes. We come up and hit them. We bounce off the running backs.
It's crazy.
We are the worst tackling team I think I've ever seen in my life. It's just hard to watch. And, that's an attitude. And listen, we're not Zac Taylor haters. We don't want anybody to ever lose their job. But, it's a reflection of your coaching staff and the attitude. Yep. It totally is. This team is not physical. There's no physicality. They're built soft. They're obsessed with the Chiefs. They get dominated in their division. Okay, they lost some close games to the Ravens. They lost a shootout to the Steelers. We lost. All right? And there just needs to be some changes. We cannot have the status quo. We cannot continually keep on trotting out these players and expect different results. We got another super chat.
Awesome. 513. Again, man, we appreciate you so much. 513. Thank you for that super chat. Let's talk about it, Mon. It is 29:30. It's right around the corner. It feels like he says 513 says if Joe leaves, he's done. I don't know if Joe. I don't see Joe leaving. However, if you're Joe Burrow, Mon, I mean, what are you thinking right now? Let's talk about this. I mean, you are having an MVP year, right? And again, right now, playing better than any quarterback in the NFL, and it's really not even close. And right now, you're 4-8. You're pretty much out of it with 5 games left, and you are having one of the best quarterback seasons in recent memory for the entire NFL. It is just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that this organization keeps running out the same garbage on Sundays, and Joe Burrow is out there literally playing to score 50 points a game. And I'm not even sure 50 points a game is going to win a game, as bad as this defense is. Mon, thoughts on Joe Burrow and what do you think he's feeling right now? I mean, it's got to be disheartening, right?
Yeah, his last few press conferences after a game, his body language says it all. His frustration. I haven't seen this one. I'll tell you what it means to me. He's having a career year, and everybody had doubts or everybody had concerns about his wrist. I don't even think he's 100% still from his wrist. And look at how he's playing. They have wasted a pristine, unbelievable season for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And it's as a Bengal fan, how can you not be frustrated? The talent evaluators. I mean, some of us on Twitter, myself, I thought this roster was one of the top 5 in football. I was wrong, but how can you just trot out these players? You have a hell of a sample size. It's not like a player's played 5 games and you give up on them. Some of these guys have been here 2 or 3 years. You know what they are. They've given you 40 game sample size, but why do you keep on trotting them out? I want to say something. The 2020, when we went to the Super Bowl, Jake, do you agree we had the worst offensive line in football, at least bottom 3?
Mon, I'm going to say this. We had the worst offensive line in football in the last 10 years when we went to
the year we went to the Super Bowl. The year we went to the Super Bowl,
yes,
we had the worst,
that was the worst offensive line in probably the last decade in the NFL.
That has hurt the Bengals. That has hurt us, and I'll tell you why. Bengals management, Bengal coaches, and some fans, including myself, hey, man, if we just slightly improve that offensive line, that's all we got to do because Joe is so good. Just marginal improvements, mediocre line from bad to mediocre, that's all we need. No, that's not true. It's BS. You can't have an average offensive line in the NFL. Look at the Steelers. Look how they revamped that defensive line and that defense to counter teams like the Bengals. Look what the Chiefs did. You cannot just say, hey, I'm going to grab a guy that's an average player, pay him $10 million a year. He's better than the guy we had. Go out and get real quality players. We need more than just a marginal offensive line. I'll say it again. The hits he takes, it's not sustainable. He was sacked 4 times today. He was hit numerous other times. Guys, he doesn't have a chance at times. I mean, that ball is snapped, and they're literally a half a yard away from him, and he's in shotgun. It's that pathetic. We got another super chat here.
Oh, we got another one.
Oh, no. Thank you so much for Dirkins. Thank you so much. There's no question there. We appreciate your support, though.
Yes, thank you, Dirkins. And then we have another one, too. We have another one from Mr. Brewer. Do you see that one?
I do. Let's see.
It says, do you guys still believe that what needs to happen will? And I'm guessing, Mr. Brewer, that you are talking about everybody getting fired. I'm guessing that's what you're talking about because that's what needs to happen, Mon, right? I mean, Duke Tobin, Zac Taylor, definitely Lou Anarumo, who has become the worst defense coordinator in the NFL. I mean, it's a good question, though, Mon, because every one of us that have been a Bengals fan for our entire lives, we know how this organization operates. Do you think they're going to do what needs to be done? And then I'll chime in what I think. Go ahead.
I think they're stubborn. I think there will be changes. I don't know if there'll be enough. This team is just they're stuck in their ways. They're not going to hire 20 scouts. They're not going to do that. They're going to keep rolling with what they got, and they're going to just build a roster on their terms. They're going to build a roster on their terms. Guys, we have some significant holes on this team. They will address it. Will they address it with the right players? I hope so. We just cannot keep on wasting Joe Burrow's prime and Jamar Chase's prime. And guys, if we keep on trotting out these weaknesses, we have significant roster flaws. We really do. And we can't ignore it. We cannot ignore it. These last 5 games, they need to play these rookies and see what they got. They really need to. One other thing that really frustrated me today, guys, how many times do you see Bengal players running on the field late, running off the field? They're all confused. We're week 12 of the NFL season. This isn't a preseason game. Guys are just running all over the place. I mean, we're coming off a bye week. It's just mass confusion. Mass confusion. I don't think Zac Taylor is going to get fired.
What?
I don't think he is. I really don't. I listen, Mike Brown doesn't operate that way.
I know you're
Doesn't
right.
operate that way.
You're right, Mom.
But
But don't you feel like Burrow? Don't you feel like there's a window here, and even somebody like the Blackburns and Mike Brown have to see that this window is going to slowly close. I'm with you, Mon. I agree that's not how he operates, but don't you feel like he's almost going to get forced to by Joe Burrow?
I think what hurts Zach, Daner mentioned it in his tweet, and you talked about it too. The player development issue in Cincinnati is a serious problem, and that is on the coaches. That is on the coaches. The players they are drafting simply aren't developing, okay, or not enough of them are. I think that could be a hurdle. But remember, Marvin Lewis got 2 reboots with the Bengals. He got 2 roster reboots. I think Zac Taylor is going to get one also. I expect some major changes to the coaching staff. New defensive coordinator. I can see 2 new coordinators and multiple position coaches. Guys, we need a hellraiser to come in, a Mike Vrabel type that literally barks the whole time and doesn't take crap from anybody.
I agree.
All right. That's what this team needs.
Listen, Mon, if I were to tell you, right, if I were to tell you right now that if I were to tell you that the Bengals scored 38 points against a Steelers team that has scored 20 or less points in 6 games, Mon, half of the Steelers games, they have scored 20 or less points. If I were to tell you that the Bengals scored 38 points today against the Pittsburgh Steelers, you would say the Bengals are winning 100 out of 100 times. There is no way on this earth that you are thinking the Steelers outscore the Bengals when they score 30, even though this defense might be, I'm going to be honest with you. And you and I lived through the 90s Bengals. I think this is the worst defense I have seen, and I've been a fan since '81. This is the worst defense. It's the worst tackling defense. It is the worst ran defense that I can't even remember another year where I would say the Bengals defense was this bad at everything, at tackling, at coverage, at running the defense. I mean, they're not even competitive, Mon. They're not even competitive.
I'm telling you, they look like a unit that's pressing, trying too hard to do something. All right. And they're making these mistakes. Guys, how many times did we see the dump off from the Steelers? 3rd and 4, right over the middle, 4-yard pass, he'd run for 15 yards. How many times do we have to see that before, hey, adjust, do something about that? They did that the whole first half. It's like the adjustments. We got another super chat here. Let's pop this up. Hey, Josh and Kim, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Oh, man, Josh and Kim.
We appreciate your support. Our fans are the best. You guys are the best. And, sometimes we catch a little flack on social media because, I admit we're emotional. We're fans. But
Mom, I think that's the thing is, and first of all, Josh and Kim, thank you guys. I mean,
thank you.
We are so appreciative, and Mon and I are diehard fans. I mean, again, we don't know a lot of you personally, but I think you can see the emotion that we portray. This is real for us. This is very real. Mon and I's hobby outside of our jobs are the Bengals, and it's been that way for 40 plus years for both of us. Mon even longer than me.
Yeah, ladies, we're really cool guys. Our hobbies are the Bengals. Whoa.
Our wives are really lucky, Mon. Heather and Angela are really lucky to have husbands whose hobby is a team that absolutely just tears your soul out every year. But thank you, Josh and Kim, so much. We love you guys. We love all of you. And again, Mon and I do this because we love coming on here and talking Bengals with you guys. So thank you, Josh and Kim. Very much appreciated there. Mon, I want to go back real quick because there's people on here saying, oh, the Steelers offense isn't that bad. They are, guys. If you follow this team and you watch what this team does every week, I mean, they've had 3 games where all they've done is kick field goals. This offense is not very good. I mean, Russell Wilson came in with 7 touchdown passes, something crazy like that. This Steelers team just went into Cleveland and scored 19 points and lost to a bad Cleveland Browns team. And the Bengals are on a bye, and they come off the bye, Mon, and they give up 44 points at home to this Pittsburgh Steelers team. I don't want that to get overlooked at how embarrassing that is. It's just how can you trot out Lou Anarumo and this same defense the next 5 weeks? How can you do it if you're Zac Taylor? You said it, Mon. Listen, I'm a coach myself. I do not want to see coaches get fired, but I also cannot stand watching coaches put players in bad situational football and not putting guys in places to be successful. And that's what's going on the defensive side of the ball. And I just don't understand how the Bengals come out here off of a bye week and they give up 44 points at home to an offense that, okay, I won't say it's the worst. It's close to the worst that the Bengals have played all year, Mon. Just can you please explain that to me?
They gave up over 500 yards total offense. Somebody asked about time of possession. I think the Steelers had the ball for 31 minutes to our 28, so it wasn't that lopsided. And, Pittsburgh did whatever they wanted. It was pitch and catch. And Pittsburgh, they have some Russell Wilson is going to be a Hall of Famer. He's not the player he was 5 years ago. Pickens is a difference maker. He's a head case. They have some good players. They really have some good players, but they have not been at this level. The Bengals defense made them the San Francisco 49ers of the 80s.
It's crazy.
That's what happened. Guys, listen, I know this is an emotional time where we're piling on. There's a lot of people out there that love Zac Taylor. He's done a lot of great things with this organization, but this team is a reflection of him. And let's remember something about player personnel. Let's remember something. The Bengals have six player personnel people in their department. They depend on their coaching staff. Every coach scouts for them. They go to these, Stanford, West Virginia, whatever, mini camps to interview players. They go to the scouting combine. And the Bengals coaching staff has more say-so on player personnel than any other staff in football. So these coaches own these players also too, not just Duke Tobin. Just remember that. There needs to be a reset. Johnny on Twitter said it perfectly. There needs to be a house cleaning and a reset for this coaching staff. Will there be one? I doubt it. I think it needs to happen. There needs to be a reboot of the Cincinnati Bengals. We cannot throw away the 5 years of progress that we've had on the football. Back-to-back AFC championship games, all kinds of stuff happening, outreach, fan outreach, social media, all this, improving the fan atmosphere. We can't throw it away, guys. And I'm hoping this front office knows that and they bring in the right people to right this ship.
I mean, you would think that's kind of, I guess, what my point was earlier, Mon, is that you would think that, again, you and I know how this organization operates, and it's not what we are probably going to be looking for this offseason. But don't you think there is a little bit more pressure on this front office? I mean, I know Mike Brown kind of does his thing, but don't you feel like eventually that this Joe Burrow, we talk about that Joe Burrow effect and what it's had on this Bengals team, getting free agents in and everything else that has happened these last 6 years. But don't you think that Joe Burrow effect will work in reverse when it comes to something like this because of Joe Burrow? And again, this is not a season that we can look at and say, man, Joe Burrow had this happen and we had all this going on and, what we've had in the past and, we're going to run it back now. I mean, this is a healthy Joe Burrow, a healthy Jamar. This is a healthy Bengals team for the most part. and we're 4-8, Mon. And we were better last year. I mean, this is a last place schedule. Oh my God. I mean, you really can't even write this thing. It is so hard to try to unravel everything that is going on right now in Bingledom. But it is just so hard to believe that the Bengals have absolutely pissed away a season that could have been special because they refuse to either re-sign players that they should, or go out and re-sign or sign players that they should, or just do an average job at drafting. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know where it all begins, Ma. I don't know where you have to start to get this thing righted.
Yeah, I just want to comment, Serena. You mentioned there's a comment about Mike Brown. I'm going to post it up here. You're right. Everything you typed there is correct. The only reason he's in Cincinnati, the Bengals are in Cincinnati, is because of Mike Brown. For all the fans out there, Mike Brown almost moved the team to Baltimore back in the 90s. The Cleveland Browns became the Ravens. It was this close to being the Bengals becoming the
Really
Ravens.
close.
He backed out at the last minute.
Really
And because he struck a deal with the city of Cincinnati to build Paycor Stadium. I'm glad he did. Mike Brown has done a lot for this community. Mike Brown is a good man. So is his family.
Yep.
Guys, the Brown family, it's been they're just really, they have their way of wanting to win a championship, and they have yet to do it. Do they want to win? I think they do. They want to win on their terms. They don't want to adjust to what the league is doing. Guys, in 1981, we went to a Super Bowl. All right. The team was a little older. I get it. 2 years later, we're one of the worst teams in football. 2 years after the Super Bowl. Okay. 88, we go to a Super Bowl. 2 to 3 years after we go to the Super Bowl in 88, had a lot of young players. Ickey Woods, David Fulcher. These guys are young players. We fall off the face of the earth. And guess what? It turns into the lost decade.
Yep.
10 years of being one of the worst sports teams in all of sports. 88, we go to a Super Bowl. 2 to 3 years later, we're not relevant. Guys, went to a Super Bowl 3 years ago. It's just repetitive. It's the same story. Good players want to be compensated. The Bengals don't do it. They move on. It's happened with every one of those teams. 81, 88. This team, we lost Jesse Bates. We lost Ogunjobi, all these guys. I get it. You know, we added some pieces that were good, but when you have solid players, you need to do everything in your power to keep them. You don't lowball them year one, keep them, make them disgruntled. Year two, you improve it a little bit, but then they leave anyway. The locker room is watching. It destroys chemistry in that locker room. It destroys the mojo of the team. Jake, you said it. We've said it for years. What was the strength of that Bengal team the last couple of years? Their locker room was so strong.
Yes.
And just so, the intangibles were through the roof. It's just not there anymore. It's not there anymore. The mojo is off. And you know what? I think with stadium negotiations happening, the Bengals want $500, $600 million redo Paycor. That could be the reason they potentially make some aggressive moves, because you know what? They need fan support.
Yes.
4-8 doesn't do it. Disgruntled fans don't do that.
Yeah.
So I could see them trying to make a big splash like the Reds, their neighbors, and maybe bring in a big-time coach to get the fans back in this.
Well, I mean, it's almost an identical situation, right? I mean, obviously David Bell, you and I are both, Mon and I are both big Reds fans too, guys. So we follow the Reds pretty religiously as well. But David Bell, obviously, we weren't even close to sniffing a championship with David Bell, but same stuff conceptually when you look at David Bell and a Reds team that in his time as manager for the Reds lost all these. I remember like 2 years ago, they lost like 50 one-run games. I mean, that's coaching, right? And now we're seeing it here. The Reds go out, they get Terry Francona and make this huge splash. And I'm with you, Mon. Listen, I am so grateful to the Brown family and the Blackburns. I love, again, I can't even imagine the Bengals playing in another city. I don't want that to ever happen. But I think you have to look at, Mon, what's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and over and over. The Bengals have got to throw a wrench into it. They have got to throw a wrench into it and make a splash. They have got to do something to rejuvenize this fan base, because they're gonna lose it. You and I, Mon, we lived through the 80s as Bengal fans, and it was a great decade. We also lived through the 90s as Bengal fans, and it was absolutely abysmal and disheartening, winning 43 games in 10 years. I don't want to see that happen again, Mon. That's why I'm so emotional about this and so passionate, because I can't go through another decade like the 90s where, like you said perfectly, we were relevant in the late 80s, and the Bengals let that young team kind of go their own ways, Max Montoya and all those guys, and the Bengals fell off the face of the earth. They became the worst team in the NFL for 10 years. We cannot let that happen again, especially with guys like Burrow and Chase and now Chase Brown. I mean, Chase Brown today, I want to talk about the game some today as well, but Chase Brown looks like a great young talent for the Bengals. And there's a lot of young talent on this team that can win, but I'm not sure they can win under Zac Taylor anymore. I don't see it. I don't see the defense playing with passion. I don't see those things. And again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, and what you were just talking about is I think this locker room has lost a lot of the leadership that people don't realize. They look at, oh, let Tyler Boyd go, let Joe Mixon go, let Jesse Bates go, let these guys go. These guys were the core leaders in this locker room. And I want to say this too, real quick. How crazy is it that Von Bell gets benched, right? I mean, would you have had that on your bingo card when the season started, that Von Bell would be getting benched week 12 now, week 13? I just, man, it's so disheartening, Mon. I want to get your thoughts on that, and then let's talk a little bit about the game.
Yeah, I just want to share a story with some people here. A coworker of mine, big football fan, he's been following the Bengals a lot because they're exciting to watch. He's not a Bengal fan. And he keeps on telling me, he goes, man, I just can't believe how the Bengals are not winning with Burrow and Chase. But I want to ask you, Jake, and I don't want this to be an emotional take. I want our take. I want our fans, we've got over 630 in there now, answer this question. Okay. There's 22 starters on your team, 11 on offense, 11 on defense. Is it safe to say that both our guards, one defensive tackle spot, and a safety spot, and another defensive end spot, those guys, I'm not going to say their names, is it safe to say that they're playing at a bottom 5, bottom 10 level in the NFL?
Oh, I think it's definitely safe to say that. And
so
I'll say some of their names.
Yeah. But when I'm saying, 30% of your starters are playing crazy. Bottom 5 level.
It's crazy.
That's why you're struggling.
It's crazy.
And these talent evaluators know it. The problem is they're making a lot of money. I know this is a cynical take. The reason they don't get benched is because somebody has to answer, like, hey, why are we paying this guy $12 million a year and he's sitting on the bench? Zac Taylor or whoever pounded the table to sign him doesn't want to go to Mike Brown or Katie and say, hey, man, I'm sorry. I messed up. I'm sorry it cost you $12 million. So they keep on trotting him out there, wanting that bulb to come on so they start performing. Some of those players I'm not pounding on. Hubbard's been a great player, but guys, his injuries are catching up. Kappa was a really good guard. I think his injuries are catching up. How do you continue to trot it? You can't trot these guys out. People don't like PFF, but people keep on using PFF. They're in the bottom 10 in the NFL, and you keep on trotting them out. Man, it's time to get these young guys in there and see what happens.
Mon, let's talk about this game here. Just real quick. I mean, we've covered some of it already. The Bengals defense gives up 520 yards to a Pittsburgh offense, Mon, that in 3 games haven't scored an offensive touchdown this year. 520 yards of total offense in 66 plays for the Steelers. I mean, again, I don't really think that even talks about, statistically how open receivers are running down the field on situational plays, third down. Newton gets beat inside for a 40-yard gain. Third down at the end of the game. I mean, everybody knows that Justin Fields is keeping that ball, and Lou Anarumo has nobody to cover that guy, or if he does, he doesn't do it. Just situationally, how bad the defense played today, Mon. I think PFF had them with six missed tackles, I think, in the first quarter of the game. I'm not sure how many it was. I know earlier in the year, didn't we have like 17 or 19 in one game, I think?
Pretty close, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we beat that today. Again, this is a Steelers team that haven't scored. Thank you, Sean. I was just about to say that hasn't scored 40-plus points since 2018 or has had 500 yards since 2018. And today, again, obviously, they go out and just run all over the Cincinnati Bengals, throw all over the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, how do you give up 400 yards to Russell Wilson? It's just so hard to understand. The Steelers today had 103 yards of penalties and still score 44 points. The Bengals had 101 yards of penalties, although a couple of those penalties were a little ticky-tack, but they were what they were. 3 turnovers by the Bengals. Obviously, those were 3 really big plays. But really the key to this game, has got to be this Bengals defense and how badly they are playing football right now. And it's so crazy, right? Because the game starts with a CTB pick 6. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Here is the defensive breakout game. And then, of course, after that, the Steelers punt one time, One time the Steelers punted today. So in all of those 11 drives that they had, 11 drives, one ended on a pick 6 and one ended on a punt. That means 9 times the Bengals did not stop the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is just abysmal, is it not?
Oh, yes. You could just tell in their play and their mannerism, even after the pick 6, they're not afraid of the Bengal offense. They're very confident. I guess during the game, Charles Davis said that they interviewed Russell Wilson during the week, and he said, listen, I'm not worried about the Bengal defense. We just execute. Everything is going to be fine. That was his way of basically saying the Bengals defense doesn't scare him.
Oh, they're awful.
Yeah, and he was being diplomatic there, but yeah, the defense is atrocious. Hit over 300 yards in the first half. Over 300 yards offense in the first half. Heck, it's a slight win. They only got 520 when you think about it. It's absolutely terrible. We got another quick super chat. Let me just get to this real quick. 513. I don't have the exact numbers for other teams. I do know the Bengals have the smallest scouting staff in the NFL at 6. I know the Lions have over 20. The Ravens have over 20. It's crazy. The Bengals scouting player personnel department, they double up pro personnel for free agency and college. So think about that. You got 6 guys conducting a draft and overseeing every NFL roster for free agency. You can't make it up. Thank you so much for that super chat.
How about third and less than a yard? You throw it, right? You throw the ball on third and less than a yard, and then you line up and try to get them to jump off sides, which I think that they did. Honestly, I think the refs missed that call. But Mon, when are the Bengals going to line up on third and less than a yard and just run the ball twice and see what happens? I mean,
Jake, they were having success running the ball, and here's something else I want to see. I like Chase Brown. I want to see the other running back get the ball a little bit too. You know what? I'm going to say this. When your defense is struggling, and buddy, we all know they have for 2 years, man, you know what? If you could develop a ground and pound rushing attack a little bit, you might have the ball 3 or 4 more minutes, and it's going to help your defense out because guess what? They don't have to play defense. You're on the field a little bit longer. You're right. We get a first down running the ball. Guess what, Jake? It takes another 2 minutes off the clock.
Mon,
You know,
Chase Brown, 12 carries for 70 yards today, averaged 5.8 yards a carry, and it's third and less than a one, and you're throwing the football, right? Not only that, Mon, I don't know if you remember the whole sequence of events. They line up, right? The Bengals line up. They line up in trips, so they're 3-by-1. They have Sample in the backfield as the blocker, so you know they're not running the football. Steelers call a timeout, and the Bengals come out and line up in the exact same formation and throw the football. It's crazy. I mean, it's like who? How do you just throw darts at a dartboard like that and just expect things to happen? 12 carries
Jake,
for 70 yards by Chase Brown. Jeez, oh man.
Yeah. Serena brings up a really great question here. I just want to we have another super chat too.
Okay.
We need a Punisher at linebacker. Does Burfict have a son? That's funny. I do want to say this. We know Trey Hendrickson's a great player. He is. He's a great sack artist, and and I'm glad he's on the team. We do not have another difference maker or an intimidator on that defense. Nobody on that defensive side of the ball strikes fear in anybody. We need a difference maker. Guys, I am sick and tired of seeing Keanu Benton, Nick Herbig, the kid from North Carolina State that they drafted this year. These guys are going to be we're going to see them every year dominating. They're going to be all pros. They have a system, and they know how to draft and put these pieces in place. They never miss a beat. Man, why can't we do that?
Well,
why can't this organization do that? Let's get the super chat real quick. You want to?
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Jake.
Oh, this is a good one. Blue Libra. I like this. Let's talk about this. Oh man, that's a good one. Because honestly, I was thinking earlier, what defense is worse than this one? I think it might have been that last year Terrell Austin was our defensive coordinator. And today, Terrell Austin, as the Steelers defensive coordinator, comes out and he does. I mean, he really did outcoach Lou Anarumo today. I mean, the Bengals did what they did on offense, but man, that's a bad look, right? That's another bad look. That's a great call, Blue Libra. I didn't even think about that. Thank you for the super chat too, by the way, Mom. What are your thoughts on Terrell coming back to Paycor and doing what he did today?
Blue Libra, you just basically that super chat, I'm put it back up, basically has been everything we're saying you've put in the super chat. Terrell Austin was with the Bengals, fired in season by Marvin Lewis.
Yes.
Then he goes to Pittsburgh, and look at that. He has one of the top defenses in football. You know why? They have a player personnel department that knows how to draft and develop players, and a coaching staff.
Yep.
He has better players there. It's a lot better to be a better defensive coordinator when you got those elite players. Cam Hayward is a 14-year vet. He was killing people today. He absolutely destroyed Cody Ford. And, they just have special players. They draft and develop, and they try to keep all of them. We don't let our guys go to Atlanta. They don't let their guys go to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Or to Detroit. DJ Reader had 2 sacks on Thanksgiving, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. But thanks for that super chat. Go ahead, Jake. Go back to your.
First, I do want to say this, and I think that is the point. But let's not let Lou off the hook here because the Steelers have better personnel, right? I mean, I just told you a stat when we started this podcast, Mon. I told you that stat. 9 out of the last 10 top 100 picks for the Bengals have been on the defensive side of the ball. That is Lou Anarumo. That is Duke Tobin. That is on those guys. The Bengals are drafting all of these defensive players, and the Bengals are either not doing a good job scouting them or they're getting to Lou and they're not getting developed. So either way, Duke and Lou need to go. Let's talk about, because I want to go back to we talked about we talked about the linebacker. Serena asked us about that. Let's talk about Jermaine Pratt. I mean, man, when the Bengals re-signed Jermaine Pratt, I was so excited, Mon. I mean, if you remember, Pratt comes off of that incredible year The Bengals go out, they re-sign him. Obviously, Logan Wilson didn't play today, but how bad has Jermaine Pratt regressed? I mean, he had 13 tackles today. Him and Akeem Davis-Gaither both had 13 tackles, which led this team. But they also both missed about 7 tackles. What is the state of this Bengals linebacking core right now?
Yeah, he just hit it right on the head. He just does not look fluid. He doesn't look good. He has regressed. They've gotten old really quick. I still think a lot of it has to do with the quarterback of that defense not being there anymore. DJ Reader was that important to the team. He never had the sexy stats, but he did control the line of scrimmage. He allowed Logan Wilson and Pratt to float to the ball and do whatever they needed to do. You're just not seeing that as much right now. And I think that plays a huge part. But Pratt has struggled. And it's just when you sign players to nice contracts to be key pieces to your team, you need them to perform at high levels. It's not happening. It's not happening. I mean, there has to be a reboot on defense. And you're right. I'm not giving Lou Anarumo a free pass. I'm not giving him a free pass. You just cannot keep him. You cannot keep him. But
No.
It's on Duke and the coaching staff too, because they arguably let his 3 best players leave, 2 best players leave. I mean, I know he only played 1 year for the Bengals, but has this defense really been the same since Larry Ogunjobi left? They've been good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they went to the AFC Championship the next year.
Yeah, 22.
Position
he good. 22.
But the position they played, him and the platooning with him and Hill, they had almost 15 sacks that 1 year. Not even close since he left. They had 7.5, 8, 7, something like that. 15 sacks combined in 2021. Larry O and BJ Hill. I would love to have that again. I would love to have that.
I'll be honest. I mean, if we want to talk about when this defense fell off, it's when Jesse Bates left. I mean, that's when it fell off. To me, at least. I mean, Larry O, obviously, that was great defensive line play that year. But even in 22, the defensive line played pretty well. But man, when Jesse Bates left, in 22. I mean, that's really been, to me, that's been the downfall of this defense is not only losing an all-pro safety, the back end of the defense that communicates and does all those other important things that people don't really see, but lost one of its leaders in the locker room on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I think that's – and look, Maan, you said it earlier in the show. I mean, the Bengals are still trying to replace them. We're 2 years down the road, Mon, and the Bengals have thrown this money at Geno Stone, at Nick Scott, good Lord. They bring back Von Bell. He doesn't even play today on a healthy scratch. I mean, oh, God. Jesse Bates leaving. I hope it's not the case, but Jesse Bates leaving could end up being the downfall of this team. And I just hope that's not the case. I really do. But defensively, this defense has not been the same. And this year, they are just abysmal. I mean, again, we talked about it earlier, but good Lord. I would take Eli Apple back right now on this defense, another guy that the Bengals let walk. And I know he got ripped and he got burnt twice in the Super Bowl, and I get all that stuff. But Eli Apple played an incredible role on this defense when we were good defensively. Did he not?
Yeah, he did. He reinvented his career. He was a solid player. He chirped a lot. I think it turned off the organization, but he played really well for him. Somebody, I think Sean typed it earlier. He mentioned a great point. He goes, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a culture, and they draft for that culture. And do the Bengals do that? What is our identity, man? Our identity is 5 wide, 4 wide, empty sets, quick passes. Guys, we need to evolve. We really, really need to evolve as a team. And I think a new defensive coordinator is going to come in and want his players. But you know what? There has to be freedom for the coaching staff also.
Yeah.
If they want to bench, I mean, I'm not saying this happens. I think it happens. I have no proof, but this is my opinion. I think if they want to bench Kappa, if they want to bench Hubbard, they have to go to the front office and say, "Hey, I'm benching them," and they front office might give them hell for it. So they
Yeah.
might not do that. It doesn't make your team better.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you got to play the players that are healthy, more athletic, and that can produce for you. If you have a pro that's nicked up, battling an injury, don't trot him out there. It doesn't make your team better. It doesn't happen. Guys, there's just a fundamental breakdown in this organization right now. There really is, and it shouldn't be with the talent that we have. It's going to be a long off season, Jake. It really is, and it's going to be a lot of discussions about how to rebuild the team. I know we're just trying to bring up stuff here. Let me ask you one question. This is a way too early off season discussion.
Okay.
Give me 3 things you would do if you had a magic wand in the off season to make the Bengals better.
Ooh, man, oh man. Ooh, that's tough. I get rid of Zac Taylor first. And God, I hate saying that, man. For being a head coach, I just you don't even know how much that hurts to say that because obviously I've never coached at that level, but I know the time and everything that's put into being a head coach, and I don't ever want to see people get fired, but I feel like Zac Taylor has lost this team and I don't want the rah stuff anymore. I don't want that. I just think it's nonsense. I want a coach. I said this last week. I want a coach to come in, and I want that coach to establish a culture. I want that coach to establish an identity on this football team. And I want a coach that's going to hold every single person in the locker room accountable, and that includes coaches as well. Zac Taylor has run out Frank Pollock. Frank Pollock should have been fired after the Super Bowl year. Frank Pollock should have been fired. Lou Anarumo, again, I love Lou, and he did some great things for us in the past. But Lou Anarumo should have been removed at the bye week. They should have given someone else an opportunity. Zac Taylor is not willing to make the decisions that are hard to make, and that is the hardest part about being a head football coach. That is what makes a great head football coach, are the guys that make the decisions that no one else can make. And Zac Taylor he's not capable of that. He's shown that. It's a large sample size of that. He is a great human being, almost to a fault, kind of like an Andy Dalton as a head coach. But he is not a guy that's going to hold people accountable. And then I want to see Duke Tobin gone. I want to see the entire personnel department get revamped. Listen, the Bengals have spent all of this money on making this organization up to date with the NFL. They've done all this great stuff with the fans, all this stuff, but they're not changing the most important part, and that is the personnel department, Mon. They have got to get with the times and build a personnel department so we don't have to watch this team run out these players that are supposed to be helping us win football games, and they're not developed. These guys are not ready to play football in the NFL. So I want to see a new personnel department. I want to see Zac Taylor gone, and I want to see Jesse Bates back.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I think you take care of those two things, and I think this team is talented enough to win football games. Mon, go ahead.
I think I want a new front office approach.
Yeah,
I want Duke Tobin gone. I want a new front office approach because I think it has spoiled the locker room with these really hardcore contract negotiations. When guys like Bates and Ogunjobi and all these really good players leave, not so much Larry O, I get it, but when Bates and Reeder and the way the Higgins contract negotiation, even Chase's, guys see that and they're like, wow, what the hell is going on here? They have friends in the NFL that talk. Are they going to want to come and play in Cincinnati? I know we got Burrow and Chase isn't going anywhere, but the culture is sort of toxic right now with that. They need to work on that. I want a different philosophy at drafting. Let me use the team just beat us today. The Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Zach Frazier early. They drafted a right tackle, Fautanu, from Washington in the first round. They didn't need another offensive lineman. Later in the draft, I think the fourth or fifth round, they drafted Mason McCormick, a guy I wanted the Bengals to get at guard. He's a starter now. I remember reading the draft review for the Steelers. The coaching staff says he was too good to pass up. They had to. They went totally best player, even though they already loaded up on offensive linemen. That's what I want the Bengals to do. I think the Bengals go best player available for a really big position of need. They might need a guard that might have a fifth round grade. They'll get him in the third round because, hey, we need a guard. Hey, man, you get the best player that's not a quarterback there because it makes your team better. Look at the Steelers. Nick Herbig was a defensive lineman from Wisconsin. They had a crap load of defensive linemen already, rush linebackers. They went ahead and drafted him because he was just too good to pass up.
Yeah.
He's been killing it for him this year. Killing it for him. That's how you draft, man. You go true BPA. The Bengals don't do that. Their draft is to feel, man, it's just really frustrating. And I think Zac Taylor should go, even though it's not all his fault. He's not going to go anywhere. He's going to be our coach next year. I hope I'm wrong.
Ooh,
and it's not a person. This isn't, guys, this isn't personal. This is not personal. He's done wonders for the Bengals, but they totally need a reboot. They need a reboot. They need a coach that's a super alpha.
Yes.
They need that.
Yeah.
They need that coach. They need somebody. The team is soft. They're too finesse. I know, man, we're probably never going to get a player on this show. It's not personal, but you're seeing it in the results. They're getting pummeled. All right. And 2 years in a row now, we have got to get physicality. We need an attitude. We need somebody. When a team comes to Cincinnati, I want them afraid of a couple players. Not that they're dirty. I want them to say, man, those guys are the real deal. Yeah. We don't have that on defense. We have them on offense. But our offensive line, our trenches, they need – screw the glass eater crap. I need a football player that's going to go out and punish people. All right? That's what I want.
Yeah, and again, I think I don't know, Mon. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Bengals are going to – I think they're going to go separate ways from Zac Taylor. I think if the Bengals miss the playoffs, which now is a very, very real possibility, and something we probably don't even need to be talking about, but I think the Bengals – they have to, right? I mean, how do you go 4-8 with a healthy Joe Burrow? I mean, how do you do that? How do you go 4-8, Mon, with the best quarterback in the NFL? How do you do that? The most important position in the NFL, you have the best player at it, and he's playing like it right now, and you're 4-8, Mon.
That's coaching. You know what? I know.
It's coaching.
Guys, there's 1,300 people in our live chat here. One thing, I know we've talked about it 20, 30 minutes ago, but I just want to bring this up. Let's go back the last 3 years, all the big offseason acquisitions and losses. And how has it worked out for the Bengals? Let's look at some of our additions. Who do we get? Orlando Brown. Hey, man, that's good. That's a positive. Nick Scott, Geno Stone, Sheldon Rankins, Cody Ford. Who else? I'm trying to think of a couple, but look at the guys we lost. All-Pro Jesse Bates, DJ Reader. And just think of all the draft equity we have spent to try to replace those guys.
Oh, God.
Man, guys, this roster, it's not in shambles. We have some promising pieces. We really do. We got some good, promising players, but we need a coaching staff that's going to come in and truly develop them. And I think if you look at this current coaching staff, we have a development problem or a philosophical problem, not wanting them to play. That's why I would like to see a coaching change, a coaching staff that will come in and just really be no nonsense and absolutely demand physicality, build a toughness, and get this team back on track.
And again, I think
Pebbles. That's funny. That's really funny, Douglas. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Listen, I think, we've talked about it a lot on this show, and that is the Bengals, parting ways with guys. And, we have lost so much leadership in this locker room now, right? That when you lose that kind of leadership, and let's go back real quick to the leadership that we've lost. Jesse Bates, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, which is a big one that people don't realize. DJ Reader, again, Cheeto Awuzie, losing those guys and that leadership in the locker room is devastating. But what's even more devastating is not replacing those guys, right? You could say Yoshi has played well for the Bengals, but he's not got the Tyler Boyd leadership, right? Jesse Bates, Nick Scott, Geno Stone, those guys aren't leaders. DJ Reader, you lose him. Sheldon Rankins, he's not a leader, right? Not only are you losing quality players, but you're losing leadership, man. And when you don't have leadership in the locker room, you know who it falls on? The head football coach, man. The head football coach. And I hate to say this, but we don't have that guy. We don't have the guy that is going to step in there and put his foot to ass. We don't have that guy. We have to have that guy. You have to either have a strong locker room, which now we are seeing, Mon, that this strong locker room is probably carried us through the bad coaching, right? It's not like all of a sudden the coaching's gotten worse. The play calling has been bad forever. So it's not like this. It's not like the coaching has just changed all of a sudden. What you're seeing is this great leadership the Bengals used to have has carried us through the bad coaching. And now that the leadership is gone, it falls on the coaching. And now we are at a point where my light just went out. Now we are at a point, Mon, where the leadership is not there and the head coaching leadership is not there. And now this is what you have. You have a team that has no guts. You have a team that plays soft. You have a team that we are seeing on the field give up 40 points a game. This is what you're getting. This is what we are getting from this. We are getting a team that looks like they don't care anymore because there is no leadership at any level in the locker room. At any level, there's no leadership.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. The next 5 weeks are going to be key. I think there's going to be a lot of business decisions being made. You're going to see guys with soft tissue injuries not playing again for the rest of the season. You could say what you want about them, but they got business decisions to make. We're going to see if Zac can keep the locker room together. I think if they crumble over the next 5 weeks, you could potentially see a coaching change. I'm not disagreeing with you. I would like to see it, just because I think the team needs that hard reset. But Mike Brown won't do it. I think they'll do other things. They'll shake up some things. But the Bengals are not going to get where they want to be under this current structure. They're not. Does this front office want to win a Super Bowl? Absolutely, they do. But they want to win it on their terms. And, somebody on Twitter weeks ago said this. He goes, the Bengals never think they make a mistake. The Bengals think they've just been unlucky that they haven't won a Super Bowl. No, it's not true. Yeah. They have this quiet, I'll say they have an arrogance about them. Yeah, I do think they want to win a Super Bowl, but buddy, they have a template to do it, even though it hasn't worked yet, and they're going to follow that template. We'll see, man. I'm still going to be here as a Bengal fan.
Of course. Listen, you and I have been through much rougher times than this, man. Yeah. This is nothing compared to what some of the years that you and I have been through. But, it is what it is. This team is 1-5 at home. That's just insanity. This Something has got to change. And I really think it will. I think, the seats did not look full today. And I think that's going to make a difference when it comes down to making some decisions by the front office. I do not think Zac Taylor is going to be the head coach of this team next year. I do not. There is not an ounce of me that believes that he will be coming back. And again, I know the way that our organization likes to operate, but there's just no way being 1-5 at home, having the best quarterback in the NFL, playing a last place schedule, you are 4-8. There is no way in hell that Zac Taylor is coming back as a head football coach of this team. There is just no way. And if he does, there's going to be some serious explaining to do, Maan, if he does.
It's tough, man. Yeah, I just somebody just said that about 1-5 at home. I wasn't even thinking of that. It just makes my stomach. I'm just
1-5,
sick
man.
to my stomach over that. It's
1-5 at home.
Yep, last place schedule. It's been a train wreck. It's been an absolute train wreck, and man, it is so unacceptable. And if they go in ho-hum and just act like it's not a big deal, just a couple plays away here, there is a faction in that front office. There's a lot of people in the fan base. Hey, man, 5-6 plays, we'd have 4 more wins. Man, get out of here with that crap. Just get out of here. That's silly talk.
That's silly. It's silly to even say that because that's not where we are, right? That's not where we are. There's no moral victories in sports. I don't care what anybody says. There's no moral victories in sports. It's either victory or defeat. Those are your 2 options. There's no moral victory. And that's, if people do try to drum that up, then shame on them. Guys, Maan and I got to get out of here. I am, once again, overwhelmed, Maan and I both, for all of you guys jumping on today. Maan, how many in the chat today?
Got just under 1,500 so far. Listen, we appreciate the support so much. Thank you, guys. We're not perfect, but we really appreciate all the followers and you guys just being a part of it. This is therapy for me. It helps me out tremendously. And no, but we really, really appreciate you all. We appreciate the super chats. You guys are the best, man. And thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you guys. Again, we love you and appreciate you. And you know what, Maan, we'll be back here next week. Remember that Browns fan? I always go back to that thing on YouTube. I'll see you next week. Maan and I will be back here next week getting ready for the Bengals Cowboys as the Bengals go head to Dallas for a showdown with the crappy Cowboys. Maybe we could pull out a W. But once again, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you give Maan and I that 5-star review. We very much appreciate that. You can find Maan on Twitter at @TheFireMaan. You can follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens 9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. We do want to say, and that is with 2 H's. We do want to say to Eric, have a safe trip. He is up in the Natty. He was there in Paycor today. Have a safe trip home, Eric. We look forward to seeing you next week. Follow the Wincinnati Podcast Network on Twitter at Wincinnati Pod. Follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter, guys. Please, 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 at Bengals_Pulse9 on Instagram. The same without the at Bengals_Pulse9. Thank you guys so much for always coming in here and giving Maan and I the therapy that we need on a weekly basis. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And we will see you guys next week. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Hoo day, Bengal fans. We will see you next week.
Love you guys.